And welcome to the Midday Show, brought to you by NorthcentralPa.com. I'm Jeff Everett. He's Mark Messina. If you were with us a little bit ago, you saw that we weren't lying. We did, in fact, have Morgan Myles talk to us.
And she did talk.
And she did talk. And fortunately, this time, if you're with us again, you will get to hear her talk. We've resolved the issues. We fixed the audio. Knock on wood. Everything should be good to go. Give us the spiel. April 15th, CAC. Go ahead, Mark. You enjoyed talking with Morgan,
right? What's funny is I love talking. Like, it's a great interview, and I think I said this last time. She's very rootable. She's very real. Like, when you talk to her, nothing's there's no political correctness in it. It's no this. But when you're sitting and we're watching it and we're listening to it and we're hearing it and we're getting messages like there's no audio, and we're like, well, we can hear it just fine. So like, it's not like, you walk in a room, a light switch, you flip a light switch, nothing comes on, and you're like, oh, I need to fix it. We're like, the light switch came on for us. And
the hardest part is you got to know the problem to fix the problem. We now know the problem. We fixed it. We're excited. You're going to get to see Morgan Myles.
Say we. I'm just sitting here like, Control Delete. What if we start again? Will that work? And you're like, nah, I'll figure it out. And I'm like, good, because you want me to go get food? Like, I can't do it.
So here we go, fresh from the top. Morgan Myles, fresh from the Opry. She was at the Grammys, coming off of the Voice finalist. She'll be at the CAC April 15th. Without no further ado, Morgan Myles. All I wanna do is feel awesome. All I wanna do is feel awesome. All I wanna do is feel awesome. We are excited to have Morgan Myles with us today. Singer, songwriter. The album is out. You were at the Opry. You're coming off of the Voice. I think I even saw you were at the Grammys.
I was.
We're going to get into all of that. Morgan Myles, welcome to the Midday Show. How are you?
I'm great. How are you guys? Thanks for having me.
We just want everyone to know she's playing at the CAC on the 15th, which is usually a bad day because it's usually like tax day and people hate. But tax day is until Tuesday. It's the 18th, so you're all right. But she begged to come on this show. She had her people reach out, said, please, before I get there, I need to be on. Because I don't know if you know this more. We are soon to be Emmy nominated. We haven't been nominated yet, but it's coming soon.
Oh, I get it now. I'm going to have to pick up on all the sarcasm. I'm too gullible. This is going to be tough. You guys are going to have a heyday with me.
No, you're going to be all right.
This is going to be perfect. Just so people, because we have this thing where we're going to go off on a bunch of tangents. We have a lot of like debatable questions, things that we want to have some fun with you. But I do want to kind of touch base on kind of the last year for you. Is that fair? And I don't want to do the generic thing because I'm sure you have given this interview 1,000 times in the last couple of months. But what a year, right?
Yeah.
It's been real. I mean, it's funny, like going into The Voice, and we'll just start there. Obviously, you're excited to go on The Voice, but the difference between the end of the show versus the beginning, looking back at it now, it's like, of course, like Morgan was gonna, do well on The Voice and it was all gonna go well, but you don't really know that going into the show, right?
No, I mean, I think the thing is, it's such a whirlwind because it's still TV. This is TV. So I feel like there's a big part of casting and all these other things that you don't know really what the show is truly looking for. It's hard to trust the process. You kind of just have to be like, it's in God's hands, hopefully, they want you, especially at the beginning. But I really just wanted to go on the show for exposure, and I got everything out of the show that I wanted. There was definitely things that I almost just didn't do the show for, just contractually, that it scared me. But, I really just felt like The Voice was getting really good with like social media, and I felt like, it was just a great way to get my music out there. And it's just so funny. It's just like, just don't win. But then you're like, so caught, it's like, what competition do you not want to win that grand prize of a record contract? It's a really odd thing. And I just kept focusing on delivering my story as a platform, and also just choosing, songs and making them Morgan, like really, really good songs. Everything that I've learned for how many years of, living in Nashville, and it's been a crazy career for me, and all the ups and the downs. It was like, okay, here's a heck of a platform right now. Use it to your advantage. And honestly, I really have to say, I I'm so glad with how everything turned out. I think some people are like, they're constantly like, you should have won. And I'm like, no, like, listen, the music business is a hard business, but it's all about marketing and getting yourself out there and selling tickets and ultimately doing what you love. And it's just a part of it. And The Voice gave us a platform. And that's how I looked at it from the get-go.
Can I ask you about the songs? Because I actually did just a little bit of homework, not too much homework, just a little bit. So in total here, 10 songs on The Voice. I saw most of them. Real quickly: Hallelujah, Wrecking Ball, What the World Needs Now Is Love, Let 'Em Fly, If I Were a Boy, Tennessee Whiskey, Always Remember Us This Way, Total Eclipse of the Heart, Girl Crush, Never Be the Same. Going into the show, if we would have given you a piece of paper and we would have said, Morgan, put the 10 songs down that you think you would have to perform to finish top 3. Like, is that a relative list for you? Like, do you feel like that list kind of defines what you would have picked, or did the list kind of shift and change as you went along?
100%. It shifted and changed as you went along. A lot of times I probably was one of the only artists that was really focused on marrying like the story of the week, like a part of my life, to the song. It was so, because I am such a songwriter, I felt like they had to go together. And I also, my coach was really involved with me. Camila would play devil's advocate constantly. Some weeks we had to do a ballad. I mean, there's just different things. Also, a huge factor that people don't realize is licensing. What songs, like
I never would have thought of that. Would you have thought of that?
No.
You can't just pick any song. Like, Beatles songs are extremely hard to get. Michael Jackson songs, Madonna songs. I mean, Justin Timberlake, Chris Stapleton. Chris Stapleton didn't write Tennessee Whiskey, so that's why it's the one song that actually is played on The Voice. So your pickings are slim, because you really want songs that America can resonate with and they know. And then they've been done so many times, and it's the song choices by far every week was so hard for me. Like, the hardest part.
Looking back now, is there a song where you're like, I wish I could have done this one? Like, is there one that you're like, people didn't really get to see this song? Every
time when I get asked that, I go, well, obviously one of mine.
Yeah.
That was I so wish there was a week that we could have played our own music, and I mean, for me, that really shows an artist, not just a singer, an artist. And for me, the art of writing a song is so vulnerable, and it shows who you really are. And so, yeah, I really, really wish there would have been a week and then I would have had the challenge of like, which song, but that would have been really cool. Other than that, there was a lot of songs, like there was a Whitney week, and I almost got there, but it's something to do with the movie that we were promoting. And I wanted to sing I Will Always Love You, but I ended up having to do Saving All My Love, because they wouldn't allow I Will Always Love You. And I fought and I fought and I fought, because I really love singing that song. And I sang at my grandfather's funeral. It just holds a special place in my heart. And it was also written by Dolly, who I'm a big fan of. So I really wanted to do that one. It didn't happen, but we still got to sing some Whitney. So that's cool.
Did you know Dolly?
Quick, Morgan, this has been going incredibly well, but unfortunately now Mark's going to speak. So
I knew
that was
Mark.
This is...
All right. First of all, did you know she wrote that song and Jolene in the same day? Did you know that? Oh, okay. I thought I was going to teach you something. So just bookkeeping here. You are a Loyal Sock High School graduate. That's why you're coming back to Williamsport. What year did you graduate?
Oh my gosh, 2005.
Okay, so that's her connection to North Central Pennsylvania, and that's why Morgan is coming back to the CAC to play on the 15th. And also, I want to get this. This is the typical generic question, but now that you've been through The Voice, how is your life different?
Honestly, prior to The Voice, I mean, even right after the pandemic, I had played 117 shows that year, and I've been doing this for a while. It's just been how to just get through that last break. I had been in a bad management situation, finally got the masters to my album Therapy, which you can finally stream. Then the pandemic hits 2 months later. I just had like a series of some crazy adventures or challenges, as you'd like to call it. So what The Voice has done has made my life even busier, which I never thought it could get even that much busier. But in such a good way, I can't complain. It's just really trying to find some additional people to add to the team that I really just obviously have a hard time trusting because of my past. So we're working on it, and some great pieces are falling into place, but it has been very rewarding. I've gotten to become the national spokeswoman of glioblastoma, which is the type of brain cancer my grandfather and my cousin Mac died of, which was a huge honor, is a huge honor. After I sang Always Remember Us This Way, and I dedicated that week to him. And then obviously being able to finally have my Opry debut at the Ryman, it was the first stage I stepped onto right after the wrap of the show in January. And it was so nice playing my original music and just getting such a huge honor. There's just been a lot of really great things that have come from it. I mean, and it's been really, really great. And having sold out shows and feeling even like this Williamsport show, growing up, we didn't get to just play the Community Arts Center. So I've gotten to play the Community Arts Center twice. Once was with the Williamsport Symphony years ago, and once was for a Christmas special. So coming back and like doing something completely headlining and having, I think we've already sold 1,500 tickets, is just mind-boggling. So obviously that is the support of the show and the promotion that it did. So I'm so blessed. I know I'm a little tired right now, but I feel like great things are coming, and it's been more of a blessing than if I had just went, oh, I'm not going to do this, and been skeptical as I had truly been skeptical about shows like that my entire life. But after a series of crazy scenarios and a pandemic, you'd be surprised what you end up doing. So that's kind of what happened. And just like you said, I mean, this season was so talented, y'all. Like the artists that were on there, and seeing some of them go like early on or not making it, I was like, this is scary. You just couldn't trust it. Like it was so emotionally draining, and we're just kind of closed in this hotel for a whole year almost, and you don't really have any type of perspective. You're just like in it.
So you mentioned with The Voice, like you being skeptical of kind of like the whole TV contest reality side of it. Is there anything you can tell us? Like, is there, like in Survivor, they always joke about like getting a banana tossed to you, like when you're off camera. Is there anything kind of like reality TV wise about The Voice where you look back and you're kind of like, oh, that was definitely reality TV. Like that was definitely more for the show and for the ratings.
I mean, I would say like obviously like all the bantering and stuff that the coaches have to do, that's definitely for the ratings. Like I don't know. There's probably a lot that I'm not even thinking. That's a hard question.
No, you can rephrase. You can say that was a dumb question. You can tell.
Like
you can say, Jeff, that was the dumbest question of all the interviews I've done. That's the dumbest question I've dealt with so far.
Listen, reality TV, like Survivor, they're tossing the banana when they're not looking. So I just wondered, what is it in music contests? What's the banana behind the camera? That's what I wondered.
All right, so here's my question.
I will say this. I mean, the contestants, we were able to become like, best friends. We still are. Like we talk all the time. I think for me, my coach was so involved with me, like got to hang out in her dressing room a lot, had real conversations, got really close to her family, so you have all that going behind the scenes. And I don't think every other contestant got that with some of the other coaches, because they just weren't as involved. So I got lucky with that. First time coaches, I think, are really there. But Camila is such a sweet soul. We were like kindred spirits. And so I'm so glad that I went with my gut and I was like, she gets me, and she did. So I'm really she even just texted me like 2 days ago and saying, she's like, send me like some of the new music that you've got coming out. And I'm like, again, she doesn't need to do any of that, like, thank you. I'm like,
Maybe she's looking to steal it. Did you ever think of that?
hey,
You might want to copyright that stuff.
Hey, go ahead, just give me songwriter credit. I'm good.
So I was from the, Jeff and I are from more of a sports background, and as you talked about competition, when it becomes competition, it becomes competition. And so you talked about the talent of the show. So you're telling me there weren't nights that you walked off stage, you're like, yep, I killed it, I'm moving on.
I felt like the night that I sang, I was the finale, and like even John Legend standing up. It's hard for John Legend to stand up, and like they all across the board were like, that's a Grammy Award show performance and stuff. And I was like, I'm feeling pretty confident. And I remember I was warming up for the elimination the next day, and like Bryce kept going, why are you warming up? You're an idiot. Stop warming up. Because I was like, what if I have to do my instant save? I never had to do that instant save song. Thank God. That has to be like horrible. But I felt pretty good about that week. And then the finale was just awful. We were all so tired. I mean, we were just dragging. So
well, conversely, was there any time that you were like, uh-oh, that wasn't very good?
Probably every other time. Like even walking out for like the blind auditions, I was like, I do not trust this at all. You're just so like, what is this? The What the World Needs Now was a really crappy week for me because it was like a 3-way knockout. And when the show aired, I felt like Blake Shelton was kind of being a little over the top rude. And like I had already walked off the stage and he kept like punching the air like I was moving my arms too much. And it just seemed like it was just didn't need to really be edited in. That was an edit. And so I even had producers after I got back for the lives be like, man, yeah, that was kind of low. Like, I don't know why we kept that. So that week it sucked because as that was airing, I'm on the flight to get back to start lives. So you're just kind of defeated and embarrassed. And I just, again, it just seemed like that was just a low blow. I was just like, it wasn't like I was moving my arms to that extent, and I already made fun of myself and I had already done all that. So why you keep talking about it after I leave the stage? I feel like that's just low. I can handle a lot, but that one, getting on the plane the next day to go back into the situation, I was like, oh God, here we go.
Well, I was going to ask you, did you know going into it, like, were you a Camilla, like, this is kind of, if I get the chairs to turn, was that kind of where you knew you were going to go? Or did it just kind of spur the moment, like, oh, I guess this is what I'm doing?
It was more, I'm a person that I just wanted to hear what they had to say. So, okay. And the energy of it, I kept saying, why did I want to go on the show? Exposure, to fill seats so that people knew me, And if you look at Camila's following, it's, if you add up her numbers or add up all the coaches' numbers combined, they don't even come close to her like one platform.
That's the strategy side. Like Mark and I were interested in the strategy side of the show, and that's the stuff I never would have even considered. I wouldn't have even thought about it.
And here was my other thought too. I said to myself, well, she's only coming on the show for this season, so all her commercials, all the Sunday Night Football commercials are going to feature Camila because she's like the new it thing for the show for just this season. That's why she's on. It's marketing. So, if I'm going with Camila, chances are I might end up in the commercials. But I also just loved her personality. She literally was, up for a Grammy this year with Ed Sheeran for Bam Bam. And, she's just very currently world dominating. But more than any of that, she's just a really, really like honest, authentic woman, and we both have like just very similar views on life, and we same for causes, and we just really connected on so many things. And I just knew that from, you know, what they said. And Gwen was blocked. She blocked Gwen. So I love John Legend, his soul. Honestly, Blake Shelton reminded me of my like struggle of being in Nashville for so long with women in country music. And we talked about that, but they didn't air any of it. So I think like it's just so funny because they showed the premiere, like I was really torn between Blake and Camila. But really Blake, like I said, we touched upon like the struggle of women in country music and in our format and our genre. And Camila just nailed me. She's like, you know, you're just Morgan and you're versatile and you don't want to fit in a box. Like she just really had me. And I felt like with Blake, it was, oh my gosh, am I just going down the same road that I've been like beating my head up against the wall with? So that's kind of what happened.
So she gave you a pickup line and you fell for it. That's what it all comes down to.
Yeah.
So when I know you said like because you were in a hotel and you didn't have the outside world perspective, was there somebody that you got like your management or whatever said you got an email from this person? Did you hear from anyone famous and you're like, there is no way that person got in touch with me?
Trisha Yearwood was texting me. That was fun. And she goes, honey, you know what? I was on a competition show before you were even born, and I lost to a cab driver from Atlanta. So it all works out. And she's
obviously Trisha Yearwood has verbal text with an accent.
Yeah. That's how but she was going back and forth with me for like several weeks. That was great. I'm friends with Lainey Wilson. She was doing some shout outs. Zach Brown, sorry, he did a post. So did Little Big Town. I'm trying to think of all the people that they were awesome. They all, I mean, you name it, they were all really supporting me just from years of being on the road or opening for whoever or writing with them or, you know, so it was pretty crazy. Everyone was like shocked.
Just to clarify, Trisha Yearwood has not texted us yet.
No, not yet.
She might. We're not saying she never will, but it just hasn't happened yet.
You had mentioned getting the opportunity to do the Ryman. I finally, for the first time, I got to go to Nashville for New Year's. I absolutely loved it. Can you just explain to people just very briefly what the Ryman is kind of to country music for those who may not fully get what it is you got to do?
It's by far the number one biggest, most honorable venue in country music, in my opinion, because it's where country music really got its heyday and started off because of the Grand Ole Opry. So it used to be a church. It's the mother church. And it's just years and years and years of history and the best of the best of the best in country music. And now obviously expands any type of music gets played there. And it's just amazing. It's like such an honor to play at the Ryman, period. So the fact that I got to have my first time playing the Ryman be my Opry debut with Vince Gill was it was like what is happening moment. And it's spiritual. It's an outer body experience.
And just so people understand, you had been in Nashville for 17 years. Mm-hmm. And so just if you've never been to Nashville, you probably walked by the Ryman every day. I mean, it's not like it's this thing up on the hill and you never see it. And I mean, it's right there. So to have this dream of being a musician and walking by that for 17 years, I can't imagine after 17 years, all of a sudden, instead of walking by it, you're walking in it to perform.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, I don't know really how to explain it, but it had me in tears throughout the day. And then the Ryman actually approved me singing my video for Hallelujah at the Ryman, and it's actually really hard to even shoot anything there as well. So I had the whole place to myself for a couple hours, you know, recording a music video for Hallelujah. It just came out, so y'all go check it out. But it is such an honor, and it's because of the history that's taken place there. And I don't know if country music would be country music without the Grand Ole Opry and the Ryman Auditorium, you know?
So if you had to do a song, if they had a round on The Voice, and you had to do a song that was totally out of your genre, but whether you thought you could do it well or you just loved it, is there like Iron Maiden? Is there Straight Outta Compton? Like what do you like? What do you listen to that would surprise us?
Gosh, I love messing with different genres and making it my own. So that's honestly, I don't even know what to say to that. I will have to say probably the most odd song on the show is probably Total Eclipse of My Heart, because of just how dated the production sounded at first. But that's why I wanted the gospel choir, and it was very 80s for me too. I really had to mess with that arrangement a lot, and there just wasn't a lot of time. You have like 4 days to get all this together. And you're really just picking at straws by that finale. I think, I don't know, things that, what would be a song that would be totally out of my, I don't know, totally out of
While
my,
you're thinking, you know Total Eclipse of the Heart.
I'm not
right?
good at rap. Don't get me singing rap.
You're not a rapper?
Not a rapper. And I'm not really into metal, but honestly, I know I've sang it before, so don't ask me why. But
because you're too young, you missed it. Total Eclipse of the Heart was supposed to be a Meatloaf song, I think, and he turned it down, is what I heard. And when you listen to it, it sounds like it's theatrical. It sounds like a Meatloaf song.
No, it really, really does.
It does.
Now that we've pestered you about the last year, we have a ton of debates on this show. We go back and forth. It's a complete coincidence that actually about a week or two ago, I brought up a debate that I had with my friends about what is country music now, because with Morgan Wallen releasing his album, Luke Combs just released it. We're in a little bit of like, obviously country fans are always country fans. We're in this weird month now where those two albums are kind of like dominating airplay and dominate even just like pop in general. So we kind of got into this debate of what is country music. I have country fans who think the Morgan Wallen stuff isn't really country. Like they're kind of like, they're not out on it, but they're like, it's not really country. And then even Combs' most recent album, it's being lauded as like he stuck to the roots, and it is. So to you, like, what is country music? And do you feel like country pop today is still country?
I mean, I think it's kind of annoying where, people, okay, there's definitely a whole crowd, demographic that gets so upset about if it's just not that old school country. And it's like, well, then just go listen to that. It's been done and done and done. So just go listen to it. There's hundreds of thousands of people doing that. And you've got the old school, and they're still touring. So just go watch that. This is these artists' take on what's making them tick and how they grew up. And it's I wouldn't say it's their version of country music. I say it's their expression of their art, and they just want to do what they love, and it's just how they feel it and how the song writes it out. And it's a combo of a lot of different elements that probably influences them. And the thing is, they obviously have a huge demographic that loves it. They don't care if they're country fans or not. They just like the music. And so it is what it is. It's like, I think sometimes people just get caught up in those boxes. And I just feel like we're no longer living in those boxes. Our world is based on streaming and your own playlisting. And Casey Musgraves could be on tour with Harry Styles or Katy Perry, and you've got, just all these different combos of just an eclectic group of music. And I just think that's what's happening right now. And it's like, okay, like, get mad or just go enjoy it. I don't know. I don't know what the heck I am. I'm super versatile. I'm so influenced by a lot of things. I'm on this like bluesy or alternative edge of country. I always have been, because I was brought up by Bonnie Raitt, Susan Tedeschi, and like Carole King, and I'm so influenced by that. But yeah, I still love the beautiful side of like the storytelling of country music. And I was on the road with Reba for a long time, and I just have so much respect for every type of music and artist. And I think people need to just listen to what listen to what you want to listen to. It's okay. Like, it's not that deep. Okay.
Well, I was going to ask that about your childhood influences, because if you graduated in '05, you grew up in the era where, your Britney was obviously there when you were a kid, and Christina, and you get like Pink was around. Pink had already made it big, and Alanis obviously was big at that time. So were you any into the women of pop as well when you were growing up, or did you grow up in a family of older music and country music, and like were you more of what your parents listened to than what your friends were listening to?
I didn't come from a musical family, so I kind of found my own music in that retrospect. But I was so influenced, honestly, by the major divas, like, because when I was, God, probably like 4 or 5, I just was like singing. I mean, I was into it. So I was listening to Mariah Carey and Celine Dion and Shania Twain, Trisha Yearwood, like all these people that had these huge voices, and the women were really, really dominating the industry. I don't know what happened. And then when I started taking guitar lessons from Dave Brumball, and this was, I was doing some musical theater type stuff back and forth from New York City. He was playing in the pit when I was Dorothy in The Wiz at Loyalsock, and then I started taking lessons from him. And he's the one that got me into Bonnie Raitt, the blues, Janis Joplin, because we put on a Woodstock show. He showed me into the old school stuff because he heard that soulfulness into me. So I really feel like Dave was connecting like my voice to my soul to the guitar, and to get me into that mindset of trying to write music, and that's kind of, I feel like, what happened. But obviously I was like, I wasn't super into, like, say, Britney Spears, or I was definitely not into like the boy bands. It was always female.
Yeah, boys.
I loved boy bands.
I just
loved
wasn't
them.
really, that wasn't my thing, but I always tried to implement all the female voices. I think was where that was what I was into. I annoyed the crap out of my sister. So
April 15th, CAC, it's a Saturday. We're not going to blow your cover. We don't know when you're coming in for the show, stuff like that. I do want to ask you though, coming home, do you and your parents have, like, is there a thing like you guys are on your way and it's like we have to get X, or we need to go here? Do you want to spill what is X?
Okay, well, I definitely want to go to Tony's Deli and get ham salad.
They're an advertiser on our site. So
yes,
perfect. Great job. Tony's Deletition. Nice job.
My one of my good friends from high school, actually, like, again, like elementary to high school, Allison DeParlo, her dad used to own it, probably still does. So I haven't been there in a while. I also have got to make sure I go to Marone's. I got to get Clams Casino and Shrimp Scampi. That's another one. And then I'm going to eat my way through town. Apparently.
There you go. There you go.
I'm here full time and I eat my way through town. So it's good.
We don't have good Italian food in the South. So it's kind of like, man, we were so spoiled growing up. And then obviously I'm going to have a cheesesteak at Joe's at some point. So.
Well, the reason they don't have good Italian food, because once you put the barbecue sauce on it, it kind of ruins the marinara. So you can't, because everything has barbecue sauce in Nashville, doesn't it?
I mean, at least the food's gotten better, but honestly, I'm not a big barbecue person. I'm just like, no. And they fry every vegetable, and I'm like, but
so here's my nerdy.
This is what's funny, because when you are a road musician, you go to catering every time, and I swear to God, you'll be in like the most ridiculous places, and they think we just always want barbecue. And it's like, why would we want barbecue in New York or Chicago? Like, get us. It's just so hysterical. It's not pulled pork. No.
So now back to boring questions. When you're making your set list, like when you're on tour, are you like, how often do you make changes? Because I'm a Springsteen fan. I've seen Springsteen a lot, and people know from show to show, like most of the sets the same, but it's not all the same. How long do you already know what you're playing in Williamsport? And B, are you playing the same show the next night?
No, I change it every single show. But probably for the Williamsport show, we'll have a band rehearsal and I'll probably lock in the same show for both nights. But I usually, what I like to do is come into the venue, feel the vibe of the venue at least. Obviously, if the setup is, well, the set length, but if it's like acoustic versus full band, if it's a saloon versus a theater, I think so many things you have to, like, as a performer, be like, okay, what's going to bring everybody together and make it the best, experience that you can bring. And if you're just set and locked into a set list, I think it's a detriment.
There you go.
I don't know what I would do. I think because there is a perfection aspect to like getting your set and then crafting it. And then after so long, because I've seen like a band early in a tour and then late in a tour, and the later in the tour, it's amazing how much they have like refined it. It is like down. So it's an interesting debacle, right? That idea of like, you want it to be close to perfect, but you also, to do the same thing over and over again. So I don't know.
Well, like also too, like if you're on an arena tour and you're always going to be in an arena and you have to be done in specifically, 75 minutes or something, you really do want to make sure that you're locked in, because that's a huge problem contractually if you go over, where some other places are very chill and like want you to do different things. So again, it's like, for me, a lot of my tour this year, it's like totally different. So it could be an outdoor festival at this set length time. It could be a solo acoustic, like last week was solo acoustic, and rooms that were super intimate, but like theater crowd. And then, I've got these shows opening for Drake White that I'm like in front of a saloon of 2,000 people solo acoustically, you're just like, whoa. And Drake, he does different set lists every night too, so it's just trying to feel the vibe and deliver,
But you get that after 17 years in Nashville, I feel like you get that. Does that make sense? Because you, like, when you say feel the vibe, like, I didn't really understand Nashville until I went, and now I get it. If you're literally, every time you get up there, you are trying to win over the room. And most people don't really know who you are originally. So it really is like, when you say feel out the vibe, that's what most people, when they show up in Nashville, that's what they're trying to do every time they get up on stage. Am I right?
Yeah. And again, if it's a quieter room, that people want to hear your stories and why you wrote the songs and learn more about you, it's intimate. And then if people are drinking, having a great time in a bar, they're just like, shut up and sing, and just let's get rowdy, and they're singing along with you, and that's what's happening. It's not, they're just, it's entirely two different scenarios, and granted, you just don't ever really know what you're walking into. You don't, like, ever.
I said after my trip, because I'd never been, walking around when we first got there, I was like, this is Pittsburgh. Like, I was like, this is exactly like, it feels like Pittsburgh. And then I said, as soon as you walk in somewhere, you're like, oh my God, I'm not in Pittsburgh. And I just couldn't get over how much talent there was. Everyone tells you like, oh my gosh, you got to go just walk in anywhere. And you're like, okay, yeah, sure. But then once you go, it is literally the amount of talent walking around that place. I still get a smile on my face every time I talk about it. I just can't get over how many just gifted people are walking around there. When you first showed up, did you kind of have that feeling, like looking to your left and right? But I know your story's a little different, right? You actually got to go when you were in college?
Yeah. I transferred here. I was talking to an A&R at a label, and I transferred from Berkeley to Belmont. And so, and of course, like, I'm underage. I can't go downtown. You can get in though before 5 p.m. when you're underage, just FYI, to the honky tonks. But by then I'm I'm in music business school. I'm interning. Like I was interning at Big Machine and getting to do a lot of like some really cool things. Like the first day of interning at Big Machine, I had to go down to the Country Music Hall of Fame to help induct Garth Brooks into the Country Music Hall of Fame. I was so out of place. Like I had no idea what I was walking into. And then I was Taylor Swift's like intern for like all this stuff. Like, you know, they were a newer label and she blew up and it was like her first and second record. And, you know, there's a lot going on. You're just taking it in, you're processing, you're trying to learn, you know, who you are as an artist, get better as a writer, start really what I mainly did was go to college for sure. But then I was at night trying to go to the writers rounds and play the writers rounds and then try to write during the day. And then right as I graduated a week later, I ended up on the Reba tour playing as a utility player and background singer for an RCA artist for like 2 months in Canada. And it's just been a wild thing. I have to look back and be like, man, there's already a novel, like some of the stuff that I've been through, done, like the good, the bad, the ugly, it's getting thicker by the day. So.
And you know how she got the Taylor Swift gig because Taylor's dad's from Loyal Sock, and she said, "Hey, Tony's Deli. We like." So that was it. That's
Oddly enough, he was a stockbroker at Merrill Lynch and knew George Bierman, and my dad's best friends with George Bierman, and so I'd actually heard about the Swifts before I got there, and I had Scott Swift's, her dad's business card. He actually went to Loyal Sock too, by the way. But yeah, I met her whole family, like Andrea and Scott, and they're great people, like good old Pennsylvania people, you know.
Was there ever, I mean, I know, well, I was going to ask if there was ever a point where along the way where you thought like, I'm not good enough, I'm not going to be able to make it. But I guess if you were on tour at 22 or whatever, if like right out of college, you're like, nope, you're going with us. Like you had to kind of feel like you belonged, right?
No. No. I have to be constantly reminded that I'm good enough. And I mean, it's a constant struggle of believing in yourself because, like, so many times too, and you've been told this, I've been told this so many, it's not even just about talent. It's like, I hate when people go, it's just about luck too, like getting, like, it's just like, oh my gosh, you know, sometimes you're just like, what? You know, and you know, it's hard. Like it can be, if you have one bad person on your team, how detrimental that can be to things. And there's just a lot of factors to it. A lot of it doesn't make sense. And I wish I could give you a whole list of amazing artists right now that should be huge and could change and be these artists that would last forever because they're so talented. And we'll never hear it. You'll never hear the best songs that are written in Nashville that are just sitting in catalogs. Like you'll never hear those. You'll never ever hear those songs. And that's what's sad because there's some really, really beautiful, well-written songs that, you know, it's an industry, guys, that has to make money and different things happen every day that don't make sense. So yeah, when it goes like, do you feel like you have those days that I'm like, is this ever going to work? Is this ever like, yeah, all the time, you know, you're like, maybe I am not good enough. And so, but you have to really just love what you do. I think when you start getting focused on like the industry side, it really brings you down as an artist. But when you focus about why you do it, it's really to relate to people and you're a vessel. And, you know, that's when it kind of, it brings you back to life. But when you start to get into like the industry side and the money and all that kind of stuff, it kind of beats you up and it beats you up hard and it consumes you. And then, it's just a tough business. So I always just try to like recalibrate and think about like when I'm at shows and people, like the other day, I was literally in tears. I was on Long Island, New York. And this whole a cappella group of high schoolers had done a rendition of my song Sanctuary. I had no idea. I was walked in. I mean, I wish I had known, so I put some makeup on and didn't look like terrible. I was like day 6 of being on a run, and I was like, oh my God, I'm so tired. I was like, wait a minute, is that my song? And it just blew me away. And like what they had to say, and the fact that these are high schoolers relating to that song. I mean, that's why we do what we do. It's you know, that's, you just got to keep reminding yourself.
So ideally moving forward, like, I don't want to say like what does success look like, but like touring, writing, creating another album, like what is kind of like the thing that you're looking at and kind of like, this is what I hope I can jump into, or I hope this is what The Voice has allowed me to like move into. What is kind of like the next thing if you could choose?
Well, I think I continue to build from the live show side, which has been kind of what I've been doing, but I hope it continues to build to a bigger level, which means that, the music is getting heard by more than new music. I have, like I said, already an album that's ready to go in the queue. And then I have a whole nother album that we're already starting to write for the next year. And I think it's just about, for me, success looks like, having a great team that you enjoy working with. And because when everybody's on the same page, I can be more creative and I can do what I really love to do versus dealing with, the everybody fighting, and then it just consumes me because I am the product here. So it's like me trying to wear all those hats is draining, because you just really want to do the artistic side, don't we all? And I think for me to be able to do what I love and sustain it, I think is the goal here, and obviously I want to always push myself to be better. I think for me though, I just love different versatile music. Like going to the Grammys this year, for me, I went to the preliminary award part that was earlier in the day before the main one that we all saw on television. I went to that one too. But what was cool about the preliminary one is all that music that's not these, say, huge commercial successes, but it's super successful, really, really great music. Bonnie Raitt was cleaning up that day. So it was Brandy Carlisle and like Aaron Lewis, and like it was just so like touching and moving and real and authentic, versus that small amount of music that we hear. Basically, the general public hears about probably what, like 10% of the music putting out there. And that's what we see at the Grammys. It's that major thing. But there's this whole other side that's so gorgeous about, music, and it still has its place, and it's still wildly successful and globally successful. And that seems to me to be, they're like so free. Like they have teams, and I know it's stressful, and being on the road stressful and everything, but they're doing what they love, and without a lot of shackles on. And I think that's probably the goal, to feel like you can be creatively free and keep growing.
Which is more rewarding, when you just think you wrote a good song, or when you think you just did a good performance?
I would say performance, because it's in real time. The thing with a song is it's so intimate. You're writing it with one or two other people, and then you start to overthink everything and you record it. Months and months or years go by, and then you're about to release it. And by that point, you've probably overthought it like 10,000 times. But I do have to say there's a sensation that's very therapeutic and healing right after you've written a song, that you're just like, man, that was so good. It's such a high, but there's, a great performance. There's no high like that. And I think it's because you've got so many people giving out their energy, and you're like that one person taking all that energy in. If you guys are into like any type of energy and stuff, you're like, wow, she's so weird. You're soaking all that in, and you're creating that experience for everyone to come together. That is extremely powerful. There's like no other high like that. Like I think that's why artists, when they get off the road, or they have to keep touring, is because it makes them feel extremely lonely, like they're missing that adrenaline.
Before we let you go, what song were you going to perform for us today?
Wait, am I performing?
We were going to do a carpool karaoke. The three of us were going to all sing together. What do you want to? You do whatever. We'll just chime right in. We're that good.
Just harmonies. Like you take the fourth and the fifth, or you guys are good.
I thought we would just do the row, row, row your boat. We would just do the
in a round.
Yes, that's.
Well, I was also going to say, if you were Dorothy had to dance a little bit. How are you? All right with that? You nailed Dorothy there.
Hey, it was the Wiz, so ease on down the road. It was the soulful Wizard of Oz.
Plugs. Is there anything that we didn't get to mention that you did want to mention? Anything that you wanted to throw out there?
I would just say be sure to check out my website, morganmyleslive.com, MYLES. It means so much if you can follow me on Spotify. But if you go to morganmyleslive.com, there's a free fan site to sign up. And that way you just can keep up with the Mo here at the Morgs and come to shows and get in on the know first off. But yeah, it just means, honestly, your support just means the most. So thank you for coming out.
I will say this: you're a very good interview. You're very natural, talkative, and one of the things. This sounds like I'm blowing smoke, but one of the things that I thought made you successful, other than the fact that you can sing, is you seem very genuine, and you were very easy to root for. There was nothing about your performances that seemed contrived or artificial or whatever. So I think that's one of the things that resonates with you. That really works, other than the fact that you can sing a little bit. That helps. I mean, you need to have that too. But, and I did want to mention, you were a graduate of the Uptown, correct?
I was, yep.
And so we want to throw, because we had Bean. Did we have Bean on?
We had Bean.
I thought we had Bean on. We definitely had Dylan on.
We definitely had Dylan Rockoff as well. And then we've had
and there
one other person.
They're all Lancers.
They are all.
They're all Lancers. So, but we do want to give a shout out to the Uptown, because whenever, obviously, they have been a big part of the success of a lot of the musicians that have gone on to have success. So we wanted to, give them their due.
Oh yeah, I mean, Dave Brumball he's so crucial into my beginnings, and honestly, through the show, Dave was calling me all the time. We had long conversations, and he's not just a teacher for a year or two. He becomes your teacher for life, and he's gonna play that show with me too. So come to the Commerce Center. I'm hoping he comes out for a song that he taught me. My very, very, very first song that he taught me. I think we're gonna play that together, which will be special. But he was so hard on me, like growing up, and I'm so glad he did, because he'd always be like, "You're gonna carry that amp." I remember I was on crutches once, and he was like, "You're gonna carry that amp," because I was at that time when it first was above that deli or bakery. Like, this goes back, and so he'd always be like, "You don't want to be known as a diva." And I was like, "Yeah, I know." And and he had a band, a Beatles inspired band called Rubber Soul, and he had me do a lot of like shows with them. Like I came in real early when he just was getting this going, and I think like one of the only females and stuff, and it was good. It was really, really good for me, because he really, really was hard on me and prepared me for this crazy world and knowing how to run a band and all that. So I really have to say, he's not just a guitar teacher. He really just gives you such a huge foundation that I can't even describe, that you absolutely need.
Please tell me, now that you did the voice, you're not carrying your own amps anymore.
Oh, but people are always like, let me get that. But I'm like, no, I feel bad if I'm like not helping. Like, now there's definitely days that if we're running late and stuff, I gotta go. We gotta like get this going. So, but for the most part, no, I'm still carrying shit.
Oh, Morgan, thank you so much for coming on. Next year, when we're the pretty much Emmy-nominated Midday Show, We
We'll
hope
be
you'll
any
come
minute
back.
now. Emmy-nominated.
I like that. That's any
My
minute.
fingers are crossed, y'all. Like it's
Thank
gonna
you.
happen.
Thank you so much. Thank you for coming on. We really, really appreciate it. Again, Community
For
Arts
having
Center, April 15th, Saturday.
Well, and I wanted to mention, because we do have people from not just around here, but obviously people spread out and they have families. You're playing the next day too. You said it Altoona. Did I get that wrong?
Pottsville,
Pottsville.
PA at Soul Joel's. Is it Soul Joel's? Why is it so hard for me to say? It's Soul Joel's.
So the day after
If
you're
you-
in.
If you
Yeah, the
go
day
to
after
my
you're in
website, you'll see where I'm playing. And I do think I'm going to be playing in Pennsylvania yet again in the fall sometime. So we're still working on that, but we'll be cutting through.
Well, hey, we do. We appreciate your time greatly, and congratulations on your success. And we like to celebrate all the local kids who made it big. And I don't know if you realize this, but you're doing all right for yourself. You've made Central PA.
Keep telling me that. Like I said, keep encouraging me.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Morgan. Excited you're coming back to Williamsport.
Thank you. So I can't wait to come home. So I'll see you guys next week.
You won't get through Tony. There'll still be a line at Tony's
Yes.
Deli. It won't be
Yes.
quick. Give yourself a couple minutes.
I wish I could take that ham salad like back to Nashville. I'd probably make a fortune.
You
Like
might.
it's so good. You know, when you move out of town that far away, you should be able to get these recipes. I'm just saying.
You know, you're gonna think I had a friend of mine who ended up being a minor league baseball player, and he was in like North Carolina or whatever. And he said, I finally taught the guy how to make a Cosmo the way you're supposed to make. He goes, because they didn't know what to do. And this was back before Subway did the fresh toasted and stuff like that. He's like, no, put it in the pizza oven. And the guy's like, put it in. So yes, it is. We are a little spoiled here.
Yeah, we are. We've got good food.
Thank you so much, Morgan. Appreciate it. Best of luck.
Bye,
Thanks,
guys.
Morgan.
Thank you so much. See you
Good luck.
soon.
Thank you.